Derek, please, it's freezing out here. A wife asking her husband to stay. Nothing more. Derek Whitfield pulled onto the highway shoulder. His eyes were ice. Stay? So my family sees me with you again? A black woman who doesn't know her place? He shoved her door open. The blizzard howled. My mother was right. Marrying below my class, below my race. Get out! We're 15 miles from... Get out! People like you don't belong in our world. He pushed her onto frozen asphalt. Cocktail dress. Heels. 15 below zero. Her wedding ring slipped off. He'd removed it without her knowing. Taillights vanished into the storm. Serena Sterling stood alone, a black woman abandoned by her white husband, left to freeze on a dark highway. But Derek made one fatal mistake. He never asked about her family, never noticed that Harvard photo she kept hidden, never learned her maiden name. Tonight, he would learn everything, and the price would be everything he owned. Let's rewind 72 hours. Harrison Whitfield's corner office overlooked downtown Hartford. Mahogany desk, Italian leather chairs. 3 generations of Whitfield portraits lined the walls. Stern, white faces demanding legacy be preserved at any cost. Derek sat across from his parents. Patricia adjusted her Cartier bracelet, a habit when plotting something unpleasant. Harrison stared at spreadsheets spelling doom. 200 million in debt. The divorce papers ready? Patricia asked. Derek nodded. Lawyer says if she leaves voluntarily, I owe her nothing. Good. Harrison leaned back. The company's bleeding. We don't need complications, especially not her kind of complication. Her kind. They never said Serena's name anymore. She was just a problem to be erased. Patricia smiled coldly. New Year's Eve. I'll handle everything. After that night, she'll disappear on her own. I know exactly which buttons to push with women like her. 48 hours before the gala. Serena found the invitation on the kitchen counter. Gold embossing. Elegant calligraphy. Mr. Derek Whitfield. Her name was missing. 3rd year in a row. Derek, why am I never on these invitations? He didn't look up from his phone. Printing error. 3 consecutive years? His jaw tightened. You coming or not? Serena fell silent. She'd learned when to stop pushing. Her eyes drifted to the dresser. A photograph lay face down. Her and a tall man in Harvard graduation robes. She never told Derek about that photo. Some secrets you keep close, even from your husband. 24 hours before the gala. An envelope fell from Derek's coat pocket while she did laundry. Inside, photographs of her. Walking downtown, sitting in coffee shops, meeting someone in Riverside Park. Someone had been following her for months. Derek, what is this? He snatched the envelope. Stay out of my things. That's me. Someone's been following. Not your concern? He walked away. No explanation. No comfort. Serena stood frozen. Something terrible was coming. She didn't know the photographs would destroy her. Didn't know the Whitfields planned to frame her for their crimes. And she didn't know that the mysterious man in those surveillance photos was about to become their worst nightmare. New Year's Eve. 7:45 p.m. Covington Country Club. Crystal chandeliers scattered golden light across marble floors like fallen stars from heaven. A string quartet played Vivaldi in the corner. Elegant, understated, instantly forgettable. Connecticut's elite mingled beneath oil paintings of club founders long dead, their stern white faces watching over generations of inherited privilege. The valet stand buzzed with activity. Mercedes, Bentleys, the occasional Rolls-Royce, each vehicle delivered its cargo of old money and older attitudes. Derek's Bentley Continental pulled up. A young man in pressed uniform rushed to open his door. Good evening, Mr. Good. Whitfield, Happy New Year, sir. Warm smile, firm handshake, practiced enthusiasm. Then the valet noticed Serena stepping out from the passenger side. His smile flickered, just for a fraction of a second. His eyes slid away like water off glass. He said nothing to her. Not a greeting, not a nod, not even basic acknowledgement that she existed. As if she were invisible. As if the passenger seat had been empty. Serena smoothed her emerald dress. 3 weeks choosing it. Consulted fashion blogs. Asked former colleagues for advice. Elegant, but modest. Nothing too revealing. Nothing that could draw criticism or confirm stereotypes. It didn't matter. The judgment was passed years ago, the moment Derek brought home a black woman. Inside, the ballroom buzzed with laughter and clinking crystal. Old money recognizing old money. Families who'd summered together for generations. Children who'd attended the same prep schools, the same Ivy League universities. Serena recognized no one, and no one seemed interested in recognizing her. Patricia Whitfield descended the grand staircase like a queen greeting subjects. Silver gown catching every light. Diamonds dripping from ears, throat, wrists. Each piece an heirloom. Each piece worth more than Serena's entire wardrobe. She kissed Derek's cheeks, both sides, European style. Darling, you look absolutely wonderful. That Tom Ford suits you perfectly. Then she turned toward Serena, through her, past her, as if looking at empty air. I told him this would complicate things, Patricia murmured to a woman beside her, deliberately loud, meant to be heard. But my son never listens. Young men and their exotic phases. The woman, dripping in pearls, old enough to remember segregation, laughed behind her champagne glass. Others nearby exchanged knowing looks, raised eyebrows, tiny smirks, exotic phases, like Serena was a dish Derek would eventually send back. A temporary curiosity, a rebellion that had outlived its entertainment value. She tried introducing herself to other guests, extended her hand, offered her warmest smile, the smile that had helped her raise $50 million for community development. Here, it bought her nothing. Responses came clipped, cold, sentences that ended mid-thought, eyes darting away as if seeking escape. Lovely to meet you. Already turning away. Yes, how nice. Walking toward the bar. Oh, there's someone I simply must... Gone before finishing. One woman, blonde, Botoxed, wearing enough diamonds to fund a small country, actually turned her back completely. Mid-sentence. Excuse me, I see someone important. She walked toward an empty corner. Important indeed. Serena felt invisible walls closing in. Not physical walls, social ones. Centuries of understanding who belonged and who didn't. Who was family and who was furniture. She didn't belong. They made absolutely sure she knew it. Dinner was announced at 8 o'clock. A silver bell rang. Guests streamed toward the grand dining room. Tables arranged in careful hierarchy. A geography of power and prestige. The head table sat elevated on a small platform. White tablecloths, crystal stemware, fresh peonies flown in that morning, reserved for the Whitfield family and their closest friends. Serena searched for her place card. She found it at a table near the kitchen entrance. Alone. A single chair at a table meant for 8. The other 7 chairs had been physically removed. Just one place setting. One water glass. One napkin folded into a lonely swan. One woman who didn't belong. She looked across the vast dining room. Derek sat at the head table with his parents, laughing, relaxed, happy. And beside him, close enough to touch, sat someone else. Megan Ashford, 35, blonde hair cascading over bare shoulders, red dress cut to perfection, low enough to suggest, high enough to deny. The kind of woman magazines put on covers. She was laughing at something Derek whispered. Her hand rested on his arm. Familiar, comfortable, possessive. He didn't pull away. He leaned closer. Serena crossed the room, kept her voice low. Derek, there must be a mistake. I'm seated alone, by the kitchen. Don't make a scene. His teeth barely parted. His smile stayed frozen. Sit where they put you. But there's no one else at my table. The chairs are gone. Serena. His eyes finally met hers, cold, empty. Sit. Down. Who is she? The woman with her hand on your arm? Family friend. None of your concern. His eyes dismissed her before his words finished. He turned back to Megan, back to laughter, back to a world where Serena didn't exist. She walked back to her isolated table. Every step felt like walking through water, heavy, slow, watched by 100 judgmental eyes. She sat down, alone. The courses arrived. Butternut squash soup, seared scallops, filet mignon that probably cost more than her monthly grocery budget. She ate alone, surrounded by hundreds of people celebrating. More alone than she'd ever been. Angela Moreno noticed. The 29-year-old server had worked events like this for 3 years, putting herself through nursing school. She'd seen wealthy families treat outsiders poorly. But this was different, deliberate, calculated, surgical. Angela watched Serena eat alone, watched the empty chairs around her like missing teeth, watched how Derek never once glanced toward his wife. She'd seen abuse before, in emergency rooms, in shelters, in her own family. This was abuse, just wearing a ball gown. Something inside Angela twisted with recognition and anger. Across the room, Derek and Megan whispered constantly, laughed at private jokes. Their shoulders touched, their hands brushed under the tablecloth. Serena saw everything, every touch, every laugh, every moment her husband gave to another woman. Her appetite vanished, her throat tightened, but she refused to cry. Not here, not in front of them. She would not give them that satisfaction. Her phone buzzed. Caller ID. J. She silenced it. Now wasn't the time. 11:47 p.m. Midnight approached. A giant screen displayed the countdown. Patricia Whitfield took the microphone. The room fell silent immediately. Thank you all for being here tonight. The Whitfield family has always treasured those who truly belong in this room. Her gaze swept toward Serena's distant table. Several guests followed her eyes. Smirks appeared. Family is about legacy, about protecting what our ancestors built, about preserving bloodlines that stretch back generations. She paused dramatically. Some things strengthen that legacy, others dilute it. She let that word hang in the air like poison. Dilute, the implication unmistakable. Serena's presence, her black presence, was contamination, a stain on Whitfield purity. And tonight, I'm thrilled to announce that my son Derek is entering a new chapter, a chapter worthy of the Whitfield name. Megan Ashford stood, beaming, radiant, triumphant. Applause erupted, genuine enthusiasm from people who understood exactly what was being announced. Derek raised his glass, smiled his perfect smile. He didn't look at Serena, not once. She understood now, fully, completely. She was being replaced, publicly. Before the divorce papers were signed, before anyone told her anything, in front of 300 witnesses on New Year's Eve, at the club where she'd been humiliated for 3 years. This was always the plan. The invitation with her name missing, the isolated table, the surveillance photos. They wanted her to see this, to know she was nothing, to break her completely. She excused herself, found the restroom, locked the door, and finally let the tears fall. But only for 90 seconds. She counted. 90 seconds of grief. That's all she allowed. Then she wiped her face, stared in the mirror. The woman staring back wasn't broken, wasn't defeated. She was done. "Enough," she whispered. "Enough." Meanwhile, Angela walked through the service corridor, heading to refill champagne. She heard Patricia's voice, sharp, impatient, on the phone. "Yes, the lawyer has the photographs. She's been meeting some man secretly. We'll use it to prove adultery." Pause. "No, of course it's not real. The man is probably a relative. But the court won't know that. She won't get a single cent." Pause. "Trust me. After tonight, she'll be begging to disappear." Angela froze. Patricia had just admitted to fabricating evidence, to framing her daughter-in-law with manufactured lies. Angela memorized every word. Someday, someone would need the truth. Back in the ballroom, Serena found Derek. "I want to leave. Now." He agreed immediately. Too quickly, like a trap springing shut. In the car, away from witnesses, his mask crumbled. "You embarrassed me tonight, sitting there like some victim. My mother saw. Everyone saw." "I was seated alone, Derek, by the kitchen. Your mother called me a dilution. Maybe she's right." The words landed like fists. Snow began falling, light at first, then heavier, thicker. Visibility dropped. Winds picked up. The highway emptied. Derek kept driving, faster now, reckless. Then he pulled onto the shoulder, stopped. "Get out!" Serena stared at him. "What?" "You heard me. Get out of my car." "Derek, it's a blizzard. We're 15 miles from—" "Not my problem anymore." He reached across, shoved her door open. The freezing air hit her like a wall of knives. "The lawyer will send divorce papers tomorrow. Don't bother fighting. We have photos of your affair." "Affair? I never—" "Pictures don't lie, Serena. Goodbye." He pushed her out of the car. She fell onto the frozen highway. Her dress soaked through instantly. Her phone skidded across ice. The door slammed. The engine roared. Taillights vanished into white nothing. Serena lay on the frozen ground. Snowflakes stung her skin like needles. Wind cut through her dress like it wasn't there. 15 miles from town, 15 below zero, alone. She pushed herself up, retrieved her phone, cracked screen, 8% battery, and started walking. 2 cars passed in the first 20 minutes. The first sped up when headlights caught her figure. A black woman in a ruined dress, stumbling through a blizzard. The second slowed. The driver looked at her face, then accelerated away. Not worth stopping for. Serena kept walking, one foot in front of the other. Her heels snapped. She walked barefoot on frozen asphalt, couldn't feel her toes anymore. The cold had stopped hurting. She knew that was bad. After an hour, lights appeared. A gas station, old pumps, flickering sign. She pushed through the door. Warmth hit her. Her body shook violently. Dale Hutchins looked up from the counter. 55. Suspicious eyes. He took in her appearance. Party dress soaked and torn. A black woman alone at 2 in the morning. His expression hardened. "Can I use your phone?" Her voice trembled. "Pay phones outside." "Could I wait inside? It's below zero. This ain't a shelter. Buy something or leave." She bought coffee with her last cash. Dale made her wait while serving others first. The door chimed. Raymond Carter walked in. 60 years old. Work boots, heavy jacket, the weathered face of a man who'd spent 40 years driving trucks. His eyes found Serena immediately. A young black woman in a destroyed dress, shivering. Lips purple. Alone. He had a daughter her age. The thought of his child stranded like this made his chest tight. He walked over. Didn't hesitate. Ma'am, take this. He unzipped his jacket. Serena looked up. Confusion. Wariness. I can't pay. Did I ask for money? He draped the jacket over her. I'm asking you to not freeze to death in front of me. He sat across from her. What happened? My husband left me. On the highway. During the storm. Raymond's expression shifted. What kind of man does that? I just need to call my brother. Then let's get you to a phone. In Raymond's truck, heat blasting from every vent, Serena finally felt sensation crawl back into her fingers and toes. Painful, but alive. Her phone buzzed one final time. 7 missed calls. Then the battery icon blinked red. Then black. Dead. Raymond drove carefully through the storm. Steady. No rushing. A stranger helping a stranger for no reason except basic human decency. You got family nearby? He asked. My brother, he's in Hartford for business. He was supposed to surprise me tonight. Some surprise you got instead. Serena almost laughed. Almost. Yeah, some surprise. Raymond glanced at her. That man who left you out there, your husband? For now. Not for long, apparently. Good riddance, if you ask me. Any man who'd do that to his wife. He shook his head. That ain't a man. That's a monster in a suit. He dropped her at a 24-hour diner on the edge of town. Warm lights glowing through frosted windows. The smell of coffee and safety. You gonna be okay from here? Serena turned to face this stranger who'd shown her more kindness in 20 minutes than her husband had in 5 years. You saved my life. I'm not exaggerating. I mean that literally. Raymond shrugged, uncomfortable with gratitude. Anyone would have done the same. No, Serena thought. Not anyone. 2 cars passed me on that highway. The clerk treated me like garbage. You were the only one who stopped. What's your name? Raymond. Raymond Carter. I won't forget it. I promise you that, Raymond. She watched his taillights disappear into the storm. Another person gone into the night. But this one left warmth behind. Inside the diner, Serena plugged her phone into an outlet. Ordered coffee she couldn't afford with her last few dollars. The waitress looked at her ruined dress, her bare feet, her mascara-streaked face, and said nothing. Just poured the coffee and walked away. While her phone charged, she used the diner's landline. Called Courtney. Her best friend since Spelman College. 15 years of friendship. Through breakups. Through career changes. Through everything. The phone rang twice. Hello? Courtney's voice was thick with sleep. Courtney, it's Serena. I need help. Derek left me on the highway. Serena. The warmth vanished from Courtney's voice, replaced by something cold, distant. I know. You know? How could you possibly? Patricia Whitfield called me. This morning. She told me everything. Pause. About your affair. She sent photographs. Affair? Courtney, those photos are of my brother. Julian, I don't want to be involved in this. Courtney's voice was final, a door slamming shut. Whatever's happening between you and your husband, leave me out of it. Courtney, please. You know me. 15 years. I know what Patricia told me. I saw the pictures. I'm sorry, Serena, but I can't help you. I have no one else. Please. Goodbye. Don't call again. Click. Dial tone. Serena held the receiver for a long time, listening to nothing. Patricia Whitfield had called her best friend, poisoned the well before Serena could drink from it, spread lies to isolate her completely, every escape route, blocked, every ally, turned, every rope cut. The Whitfields weren't just ending her marriage. They were erasing her entire life. Her phone finally powered on. Notifications flooded the cracked screen. 7 missed calls from Jay. 3 voicemails. She pressed play. First voicemail. Rena, it's Julian. I'm in Hartford for a conference. Thought I'd surprise you for New Year's. Call me back. Second voicemail. Sis, I pinged your phone's location. Why are you on a highway shoulder at midnight? In this weather? I'm sending a car. Third voicemail. I'm coming myself. Stay wherever you are. I'm on my way. Serena's breath caught. Julian. Her older brother. The one she'd hidden from Derek for 5 years. The one in that Harvard photo she kept face down on her dresser. She'd wanted Derek to love her for herself, not for her family, not for what they represented. So she'd never mentioned that Sterling was one of the most powerful names in American finance. Never told him that her brother had built a $14 billion empire from nothing. Never let slip that Julian Sterling was one of the most feared names on Wall Street. Her phone rang. She answered instantly. Rena. Julian's voice, deep, controlled, worried beneath the calm. Where are you? Diner on Route 9, the 24-hour place. I know it. 20 minutes. Stay inside. Julian, I need to tell you what happened. Derek left me on the highway, in the blizzard. He just pushed me out and drove away. Silence on the line. Heavy, dangerous. When Julian spoke again, his voice had transformed completely. Colder, harder. The voice that had destroyed competitors, ended careers, bankrupted companies. Stay there. Don't move. I'm coming. 22 minutes later, headlights cut through the diner's foggy windows. A black Escalade. Immaculate despite the storm. The kind of vehicle that announced serious money and serious power. Julian Sterling stepped out. Tall, broad-shouldered, 3-piece suit that cost more than most people's cars. Moving through the blizzard like it was minor inconvenience. He walked into the diner. Every head turned. Power recognized power, even at 3 in the morning. But his eyes saw only one person. Rena. 4 strides and he was there, arms wrapped around his sister, holding her like he'd held her since childhood. Serena broke completely. Everything she'd held back, every tear, every scream, poured out against her brother's shoulder. I've got you, Julian murmured. You're safe now. I've got you. He led her to a booth, ordered hot tea, draped his suit jacket over her shoulders on top of Raymond's work coat. Tell me everything. And she did. 5 years of marriage compressed into 20 minutes. The isolation, the racism dressed as tradition, Patricia's cruelty, Derek's coldness becoming hatred. Tonight, the gala, the humiliation, Megan being thrown from the car. Julian listened without interrupting. His face remained neutral, but she saw his jaw tighten, saw the vein in his temple pulse. The photos, he finally said. The affair evidence Derek mentioned. They have pictures of me meeting some man secretly. Those photos are of you meeting me, Rena. The times I came to warn you about Derek, to tell you something wasn't right. They were following me? For months, building a case. He leaned forward. But not just for divorce. What do you mean? Whitfield & Associates is dying. $200 million in debt. Banks circling. He paused. But that's not the worst part. They're laundering money, using real estate projects to clean cash for dangerous clients. Money laundering? Federal crime. Decades in prison. Julian's eyes hardened. And if the FBI closes in, they need someone to blame. A scapegoat. Serena felt blood drain from her face. They were going to frame me? For crimes they committed. You had access to files through Derek's computer, your signature on documents you never read. Oh my God, They wanted to send me to prison? That was their plan. Julian's voice went cold. But they made a mistake. What mistake? The mystery man in those photos, that's me, and I've had investigators on them for 6 months. He pulled out his phone. They've been negotiating to sell the company to Meridian Holdings, their last hope. He dialed. What they don't know is Meridian belongs to me. David, activate Protocol Meridian. Every debt Whitfield owes, purchased before markets open, all of it, and call our FBI contact. Tell them I have everything on the Connecticut money laundering case. He hung up. By 6 a.m., I'll own every dollar they owe. By 7, FBI has everything. By 8, I walk into Harrison's office. And then? Then I burn their empire to the ground. He extended his hand. They threw my sister onto a highway to die. They wanted to send you to prison. They thought you had no one. His grip tightened. They were wrong. You have me. And I have $14 billion. 6 o'clock in the morning, January 1st. While the rest of Connecticut slept off champagne hangovers and celebrated the promise of a new year, Julian Sterling's team executed a financial blitzkrieg the likes of which Hartford had never seen. 3 private equity specialists worked through the entire night without rest. 12 urgent phone calls to bank executives across 4 different time zones. Legal teams standing by in New York, London, and Singapore. $200 million in debt instruments, changing hands before the first light of dawn broke over the frozen landscape. The operation was surgical, precise, devastating. By 6:30, it was done. Every loan Whitfield and Associates owed to anyone. Every line of credit they'd drawn upon. Every corporate bond they'd issued. Every outstanding financial obligation their company had accumulated over 3 generations of business. All of it, every single dollar, now belonged to Sterling Capital Partners. The Whitfields woke up on New Year's Day owing absolutely everything they possessed to a man they'd never met. A man they'd never heard of. A man whose sister they'd thrown out of a car to freeze to death on a dark highway just hours earlier. At 7 o'clock, Julian's legal team hand-delivered a thick manila envelope to the FBI field office in Hartford. Inside, complete documentation of the Whitfield money laundering operation, 7 years of transactions, client names and contact information, bank routing numbers across 12 countries, shell company structures that would have taken federal investigators months to unravel on their own. The FBI agent who received the package made 3 phone calls within 15 minutes. Arrest warrants were issued before 8 o'clock. At precisely 8 o'clock, Harrison Whitfield arrived at his corner office in the Whitfield and Associates building. He had a champagne headache, a stale taste in his mouth, and a growing gnawing sense that something had gone terribly wrong while he slept. His CFO stood waiting in the hallway outside his office door. So did the company's chief legal counsel. Both men looked like they'd aged 10 years overnight. Neither could meet Harrison's eyes directly. "What's wrong? Why are you both here so early?" The lawyer cleared his throat nervously. "Mr. Whitfield, there's been a development. A significant development." "Development? What kind of development?" "Our corporate debt, sir. All of it. Every loan, every bond, every credit line, it's all been transferred to a new holder. Overnight, while we slept." Harrison's coffee cup froze halfway to his lips. His hand began to tremble slightly. "Transferred? To whom? We didn't authorize any transfer of our debt obligations. That would require board approval." "They didn't need our authorization, sir. They purchased the debt directly from our lenders, paid 15% above market value for immediate transfer. Every single bank accepted the offer. They couldn't refuse that kind of premium." "Who? Who has that kind of capital to move that fast?" "A firm called Sterling Capital Partners." The name meant nothing to Harrison. He'd never heard of Sterling Capital Partners in any business context, never seen them at any industry conferences, never received any correspondence from them. "Sterling? I've never heard of any company called..." His desk phone rang shrilly, cutting him off. His secretary's voice trembled through the speaker. "Mr. Whitfield, there's a Julian Sterling here in the lobby to see you, sir. He says he's your new primary creditor. He says he owns everything you owe to anyone. He's demanding an immediate meeting, and he says he won't take no for an answer." The name struck Harrison like a physical blow to the center of his chest. Sterling. Serena Sterling. His daughter-in-law's maiden name. Oh, dear God in heaven. "Send him in." The heavy oak door swung open with a weight that felt like finality. Julian Sterling walked in like he already owned the building and everything in it and everyone who worked there. Because as of 6 o'clock that morning, he effectively did own all of it. Two attorneys in expensive Italian suits followed close behind him, carrying briefcases thick with legal documents and financial records. Julian didn't offer his hand for Harrison to shake, didn't sit in any of the offered leather chairs, didn't observe any of the social niceties that Connecticut business culture typically demanded between men of their respective positions. He simply stood in the center of Harrison Whitfield's corner office, this space that had represented Whitfield power and prestige for 3 generations, and took complete control of it. "Mr. Whitfield," his voice was calm, professional, absolutely terrifying in its composure. "My name is Julian Sterling. I'm the CEO of Sterling Capital Partners. As of 6 o'clock this morning, I personally own every single dollar of debt your company owes to anyone anywhere in the world. $214 million. All of it belongs to me now." Harrison's mouth opened, closed, opened again without producing any coherent words. Julian reached into his jacket and pulled out a framed photograph. He placed it carefully on Harrison's mahogany desk, positioning it so the older man couldn't look away. Serena. Smiling. Happy. Radiant. The woman she'd been before the Whitfield family spent 5 years systematically breaking her down. "This woman is Serena Sterling, your daughter-in-law. The woman your son Derek threw out of his car last night on Highway 9, during a blizzard, in 15-degree below zero temperatures, and then drove away and left her there to freeze to death. Alone. In the dark." Julian let those horrifying words fill every corner of the room. Let them sink into Harrison's consciousness like poison into soil. "She's my baby sister." Harrison Whitfield aged visibly in that moment. His face went from healthy pink to ashen gray in the space of a single heartbeat. His hands began to shake uncontrollably. "I'm not here to negotiate terms or discuss restructuring options." Julian's voice had dropped to something that could have frozen the room colder than that highway where Serena had nearly died. "I'm here to ensure you understand exactly what is about to happen to you and your entire family, and exactly why it's happening." He dropped a thick legal document on Harrison's desk with a heavy, final thud. "This is formal notice of immediate debt collection. Sterling Capital Partners is exercising its full legal rights to recover all outstanding financial obligations without delay or negotiation. Whitfield and Associates is being liquidated. Completely. Every asset, every property, every investment, every piece of real estate, everything you've built over 3 generations. Gone. You can't possibly..." Julian dropped another document on top of the first. "This comprehensive package was hand-delivered to FBI headquarters at 7 o'clock this morning. Complete and detailed records of your money laundering operation going back 7 years. Client names, bank routing numbers, transaction histories, shell company structures, everything federal investigators have been searching for." Harrison's face went from gray to chalk white. His coffee cup slipped from his trembling fingers, shattering on the hardwood floor. "The FBI now has absolutely everything they need to put your entire family in federal prison for decades." The office door burst open with a crash. Derek Whitfield stormed in, face flushed with confusion and mounting terror. "Dad, there are FBI agents with badges and guns in the main lobby. They're talking to the security guards. What the hell is happening? Who?" Then Derek saw Julian standing behind his father's desk, saw Serena's framed photograph positioned prominently on the mahogany surface, recognized his wife's smiling face immediately. "Who the hell are you?" "I'm the brother of the woman you abandoned on a highway to die last night in a blizzard." Julian turned to face Derek fully, his eyes like polished black ice. "I'm also the man who now personally owns absolutely everything your family has ever possessed. Every building, every bank account, every investment. And I'm the reason those federal agents downstairs are about to arrest both of your parents for multiple felonies." Derek's confident face collapsed like a building imploding from within. "Serena has a brother? She never once told me." "She never told you because she wanted you to love her for who she actually was, not for what her family could offer you professionally or socially." Julian shook his head slowly, something almost like pity crossing his features. "But you never loved her at all, did you? Not for a single day of your marriage. She was just a phase to you, an exotic experiment, a rebellion against your parents. Isn't that exactly what your mother called it at the gala last night?" FBI agents in dark suits appeared in the doorway, badges prominently displayed on their chests. "Harrison Whitfield? Patricia Whitfield? You both need to come with us. You're under arrest." Handcuffs clicked around aging wrists with cold finality. Miranda rights were read in a clear, emotionless official voice. Patricia Whitfield screamed about lawyers and connections and powerful friends who would hear about this outrage. Harrison Whitfield simply stared at nothing, his entire world collapsing around him. Agent Morrison turned to address Derek directly. "Mr. Derek Whitfield, you have an opportunity here. You can choose to cooperate fully with our investigation. Testify truthfully against your parents. Help us understand the complete scope of this criminal operation they built. It might reduce your own exposure significantly." Derek looked wildly between his handcuffed parents being led away in shame and Julian Sterling standing victorious behind his father's desk and Serena's beautiful smiling photograph that seemed to watch everything with quiet dignity. For one precious moment, one single fleeting moment, he could have chosen differently. He could have taken responsibility for his own actions. He could have shown genuine remorse for what he'd done to his wife. He could have demonstrated some basic human decency. Instead, Derek pointed accusingly at the photograph of Serena. "My wife had complete access to all of our financial files through my home computer. She must have been secretly working with her brother this entire time. She's the one who was actually involved in the money laundering. She's the one you should be arresting." Still blaming Serena, even now, even caught, even completely exposed and ruined. He couldn't stop himself. He couldn't take responsibility. He couldn't be anything other than exactly what he'd always been. Julian Sterling almost laughed at the pathetic predictability of it all. "Agent Morrison, I have additional evidence to submit for your consideration. Text messages recovered from Derek Whitfield's personal phone sent to his mistress Megan Ashford at precisely 2:14 a.m. last night. He wrote, and I quote directly, 'Finally done with her. She's probably frozen solid by now.' End quote." Derek's face went completely gray. "I also have emails exchanged between Derek and his father over the past several months, discussing in extensive detail exactly how to eliminate the Serena problem before she could become a liability. All of this documentary evidence has already been submitted to your evidence team." Agent Morrison nodded grimly. "Take him with his parents, all three of them." Federal agents stepped forward and led Derek Whitfield away in handcuffs, following his mother, following his father. The entire Whitfield dynasty ending its three-generation run in federal custody. Julian Sterling stood alone in the corner office that had once represented the pinnacle of Whitfield power and prestige, surrounded now by the complete ruins of an empire built on cruelty and racism and the systematic destruction of innocent people. His phone buzzed in his pocket. A text message from Serena. "Is it done?" He typed back with steady fingers. "It's done. Every single one of them is in custody. Come to the country club. There's one more thing I want you to see." 2 hours later, 10 o'clock in the morning, Covington Country Club. The same glittering ballroom where Serena had been publicly humiliated just 12 hours earlier. The same crystal chandeliers that had witnessed her isolation. The same marble floors where she'd walked alone to a table stripped of every chair but one. Very different circumstances now. The morning sunlight streamed through the tall windows, illuminating dust motes floating in the air like tiny witnesses to what was about to unfold. The string quartet was gone. The champagne was gone. The hundreds of wealthy guests in their designer gowns and tailored suits were gone. In their place, FBI agents in dark suits, local police officers providing additional security, a few club employees who'd been asked to remain as witnesses, and the Whitfield family. Harrison sat in a straight-backed chair, his wrists cuffed in front of him, his face the color of old ashes. The arrogance that had defined him for 6 decades had evaporated completely. He looked like what he was, a broken old man facing the complete destruction of everything he'd spent his life building. Patricia sat beside him, still wearing the silver gown from last night's gala, now wrinkled and stained with coffee someone had spilled on her during processing. Her diamonds had been confiscated as potential assets subject to seizure. Without them, without her perfect hair and makeup, without the armor of her wealth, she looked small, diminished, ordinary. Derek sat slightly apart from his parents, his tuxedo jacket missing, his bow tie hanging loose around his neck. He kept glancing toward the door, as if expecting his lawyer to burst in and announce this was all a terrible misunderstanding. No lawyer was coming. Not yet. Not for hours. They waited in silence, guarded and defeated. Then the ballroom doors opened. Serena Sterling walked in, head held high, shoulders squared, spine straight as a steel beam. She wore simple clothes Julian had brought her. Nothing fancy, nothing designed to impress. She didn't need impressive clothes anymore. She didn't need anyone's approval anymore. Julian walked beside her, his presence a silent wall of support. Behind them came Angela Moreno, still in the server's uniform she'd been wearing when she overheard Patricia's incriminating phone call. And Raymond Carter, the truck driver who'd been the only person on that frozen highway willing to stop for a black woman in distress. Patricia's head snapped up when she saw Serena enter. Her face twisted into something ugly. Hatred and fear and disbelief all fighting for dominance. "You!" The word came out like poison. "You did this. You destroyed our family. You destroyed everything we built, everything!" Serena stopped walking, looked directly at the woman who had tormented her for 5 years. The woman who had called her a dilution. The woman who had orchestrated her complete humiliation in front of 300 witnesses. "No, Mrs. Whitfield." Serena's voice was calm, steady, strong in a way it had never been during her marriage. "I didn't destroy your family. You destroyed yourselves. You destroyed yourselves with your greed and your cruelty and your absolute certainty that people like me don't matter." She took a step closer. "I didn't launder money through shell companies. You did. I didn't fabricate evidence to frame an innocent person. You did. I didn't throw someone out of a car in a blizzard to freeze to death. Your son did." Another step. "All I did was survive. All I did was have a brother who loved me enough to make sure you couldn't hide what you really are." She gestured toward Julian. "You wanted to send me to prison for your crimes. You wanted to take everything from me. My money, my freedom, my future. You thought I was alone. You thought I was weak. You thought I would just disappear." Her voice grew stronger. "I didn't disappear. I'm still here. And now the whole world is going to see exactly what the Whitfield family really is." Angela Moreno stepped forward to address Agent Morrison directly. "Last night, during the gala, I overheard Mrs. Patricia Whitfield on a phone call in the service corridor. She was speaking with someone, I believe it was their family lawyer. About the photographs they plan to use against Mrs. Sterling in the divorce proceedings. Angela's voice was steady, professional, unshakable. Mrs. Whitfield explicitly admitted that the adultery evidence was fabricated. Her exact words were, "Of course it's not real. The man in the photos is probably just a relative or something innocent. But the court won't know that, will they?" She then said, and I quote directly, "She won't get a single cent of Whitfield money." Agent Morrison nodded, making notes. "Thank you, Ms. Moreno. Your testimony will be very valuable." Raymond Carter stepped forward next, his weathered face tight with barely controlled anger. "I found this young woman on Highway 9 at approximately 2 o'clock this morning. Temperature was 15 degrees below zero. Wind chill made it feel even colder. She was wearing nothing but a party dress, and she'd lost her shoes somewhere along the way. Her lips were turning blue. She was shivering so hard she could barely stand." He pointed directly at Derek, his finger steady and accusing. "Because that man, her own husband, threw her out of his car in the middle of a blizzard and drove away. Left her there to freeze to death. Alone, in the dark, on a deserted highway where no one would find her body until spring." Raymond's voice shook with righteous fury. "I've been driving trucks for 40 years. I've seen a lot of terrible things on the road. But I have never seen anything as evil as what that man did to his own wife. What kind of man does that? What kind of monster throws a woman out to die in the snow?" No one answered. There was no answer. Derek made one last desperate attempt to save himself. "Serena, please." His voice cracked. "You have to believe me. I didn't know they were going to... I didn't mean for any of this to happen. I was under pressure from my parents. They made me do it. I loved you once. You have to remember that I loved you." "No." Serena's single word cut through his pathetic excuses like a blade. "You didn't love me, Derek. You never loved me. Not for a single day of our marriage." She shook her head slowly. "You loved the idea of rebelling against your parents. You loved having an exotic wife you could show off at parties. You loved controlling someone you thought was beneath you." She took a deep breath. "But love? Real love? You don't know what that word means. You never did." She turned her back on her ex-husband, turned her back on the Whitfield family and everything they represented, walked toward the ballroom doors, toward the morning light streaming through the tall windows, toward the rest of her life. Julian fell into step beside her. Raymond and Angela followed. Behind them, the FBI agents began the process of transporting the Whitfields to federal detention facilities where they would await trial. Serena Sterling walked out of Covington Country Club for the last time. She never looked back. She was finally, completely, irrevocably free. 6 months later, justice was served. Harrison Whitfield, 15 years federal prison, money laundering, wire fraud, conspiracy. Patricia Whitfield, 10 years, conspiracy, obstruction, fraud. Derek Whitfield, 8 years. His attempt to blame Serena backfired spectacularly. The judge added time for attempting to victimize an innocent woman twice. Megan Ashford, 3 years probation. Whitfield and Associates, dissolved. Every asset liquidated. Covington Country Club, unanimous vote to permanently revoke Whitfield membership. Portrait removed from Founder's Wall. Serena's divorce finalized in April. She asked for nothing from Derek. No alimony, no settlement, nothing touched by Whitfields. She returned to Atlanta, but not as the woman who'd left. 8 months after that frozen highway, Serena stood before a new building in downtown Atlanta. Silent No More Foundation, a nonprofit for women escaping abusive marriages, legal aid, financial counseling, emergency housing, job training, everything she'd needed and hadn't had. Julian attended the ribbon cutting. I want to invest. Put my name on the board. No. Rena, you saved my life. I'll never forget that. She turned to face him. But this is mine. I need to build it myself, as Serena Sterling, not Julian Sterling's sister. Julian studied his sister, saw steel that hadn't existed before, confidence forged in fire. You're right. This is your legacy. Angela Moreno graduated top of her nursing class. Now she served as health program director for Silent No More. Raymond Carter received a plaque, the only one who stopped. He volunteered regularly, driving women to safety, proving ordinary people could do extraordinary things. 3 years after that frozen highway, a letter arrived at Danbury Federal Prison. Derek opened it. Derek, I'm not writing to forgive you. I'm not writing to blame you. Hatred is a chain, and I freed myself long ago. I'm writing so you know I'm okay, more than okay. Living a life you never believed I deserved. If you want to be different when you get out, that's your choice. Redemption's door is always open. But you must walk through yourself. I won't wait to see what you choose. I've moved on. Serena. Derek read it twice. He could change, become better, walk through that door, or stay exactly who he'd always been. He stared at the letter for a long time. He never wrote back. 2 years later, the Silent No More Foundation Annual Gala. Hundreds of people filled the grand ballroom of the Atlanta Marriott Marquis. Survivors of domestic abuse who had rebuilt their shattered lives with the foundation's help. Dedicated volunteers who gave countless hours to the cause. Generous donors who opened their wallets and their hearts. National media representatives covering the fastest-growing domestic abuse nonprofit organization in the American Southeast. Serena Sterling took the stage to thunderous, sustained applause. She stood at the podium, looking out at the sea of faces, faces of people who understood exactly what it meant to survive, to escape, to rebuild. 5 years ago, I believed that silence was love. I believed that making myself smaller and smaller would somehow keep me safe. I believed that I had absolutely no one in this world who cared whether I lived or died. She paused, letting her words settle over the crowd like gentle snowflakes. I was completely wrong about all of it. Silence is not love. Silence is... Shrinking yourself is not safety. And no matter how alone you feel in your darkest moments, no matter how invisible they try to make you, you are never truly alone in this world. She looked out into the crowd, found Angela Moreno, now the Foundation's health program director, found Raymond Carter, sitting with his daughter Michelle, found Julian standing quietly in the very back row, needing no recognition, wanting none. They left me in the snow that night because they believed I would simply disappear, that I would freeze and vanish and never trouble them again. Her voice grew stronger with each word. I didn't disappear. I stood up from that frozen highway. I walked forward through that terrible storm. And now I stand here before all of you, stronger than I ever knew a person could possibly be. Standing ovation. Tears streaming down hundreds of faces. Applause shaking the ballroom walls. Respect doesn't come from silence. Equality isn't given by those who profit from inequality. Responsibility means facing real consequences, not offering empty apologies. And redemption? That door stands open for everyone. But you must find the courage to walk through it yourself. If this story moved you, share it today. With someone who needs to hear these words, someone suffering in silence right now, someone who believes they have absolutely no one. Comment below. What would you do in Serena's position? How far would you go to protect someone you love? Like this, if you believe in justice. Subscribe, because every week we tell the stories they desperately hope you never hear.